Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening to the people in Nevis, to people in St. Kitts, to people in the wider Caribbean. Good evening to those friends and family who are tuned in the United States and Canada, and those in the United Kingdom. My name is Mark Brantley, and welcome to another edition of On The Mark. We're here this evening, as we are every Wednesday, between the hours of 8 and 10, for 2 hours of primetime talk radio, commercial-free talk radio. We remain the only show of its kind in the Federation, where we have 2 hours of talk without any interruption. This show is your show. Each week we try to put something on the table that we think is of interest to you, but naturally when we open the lines you are free to come in and to make your comments and to make your contribution. The numbers when we do open the lines are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call at that point in time when I signal that it is time for you to share your views and opinions. This evening we have a lot of ground to cover, and so I'm going to get right to it. I have with me one of the iconic Calypsonians, one of the iconic cultural leaders in the entire Federation, some may say in the entire Caribbean, and that is none other than Keith Scarborough, MBE. King This and That is his stage name, and he usually uses this platform each year at Culturama time to release his songs. Notwithstanding the climate right now, we know that it's all about the politics. He has said that he wanted to come, and so I did indicate that I'll give him a few minutes at the top of the show so that he can release his song to our global audience. So King This and That, Mr. Scarborough MBE, welcome to On The Mark and to yet another Culturama, and happy that we are back with Culturama after 2-year hiatus. Culturama 48 is well and truly on.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening to you, and good evening to all who are listening to VO Radio at this time. And let me say right up front that I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, especially in this climate when it's all about politics right now, and we're in the middle of a campaign. So I want to thank you very much for giving me these couple minutes to just release this one song. I would have released the other one already, so I'm happy to be releasing this one this evening.
All right, well, as usual, could you tell us a little bit about this song before we debut it on the radio? What's going on?
Well, this one is entitled Dance Like a Bat. And my songs as usual normally speaks for itself, and it's self-explanatory. So once you hear the song, you will understand where I'm going with that topic, Dance Like a Bat. And last year I released a tune called The Gospel, and I think this is in a similar vein, one that is going to be long-lasting and enjoyable to most people.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm assuming we have the song queued up. Dance as a bat.
Like a bat.
Dance like a bat.
Right.
Not as, but dance like a bat.
Right.
This is Mr. Keith Scarborough, King This and That, brand new song for Culturama 48 2022.
It's another gospel, another one for the ages. Because they have some sort of degree, they don't need common sense at all. Some even believe that they're brighter than all are we. So when they talk they make you feel small. How they get the degree, my friend? Me know. But it is causing a real problem. For sure. Take away the script and you will see they really don't have much ability to work or communicate. Some of them just can't relate, but pretend they're the brightest in this state. What fate? Some of them can't hold a conversation. They dance like a bat, but they want big position. And they dance like a bat. Degree in this, degree in that. They dance like a bat. even try, and some of them really don't know. Some of them wearing high heels, some of them wear jacket and tie, trying their best to appeal to the kindness of you and I. You see, the degree that they have, Google give them that, that's how I know.
They dance like a bat.
Or you take it from king this and that. Mother,
They dance like a bat.
I feel to call some of them name,
They dance like a bat.
but I will wait until such time.
They dance like a bat.
Sweet calypso, exciting and true. It's like some don't know. Common sense is a high degree, mixed with experience and knowledge. So even though you go away to university, that's just a paid privilege. It doesn't mean that you have the right, my friend, to say I am dunce and you are bright. Well then, show the world what you have done with all that college education. You have to demonstrate that you have what it takes to be called a scholar in this state. Oh, faith. Some of them can hold a conversation,
They dance like a bat.
yet they want big position. And
They dance like a bat.
degree in this, degree in that.
They dance like a bat.
Ask them to produce, and they cannot. And some of them work high, some of them work low. Some of them don't even try, and some of them really don't know. Some of them wearing high heels, some of them wear jacket and tie, trying their best to appeal to the kindness of you and I. You see, the degree that they have, Google give them that, that's how I know.
They dance like a bat.
All you take it from king this and that. Mother,
They dance like a bat.
I so. Only the king make them like that.
They dance like a bat.
Exciting and sweet and true as well.
They dance like a bat.
I personally like to see my people excel in whatever they choose to do. But some of them copy, then come back home with their heads swell, still depending on me and you. Some even disrespect the older ones who have the knowledge, experience, then some. The college degree gone to the brain, and driving some of them insane. Nowadays it's so easy to get a college degree, especially if you have money. You see, some of them can hold a conversation,
They dance like a bat.
but they want big position. And
They dance like a bat.
degree in this, degree in that.
They dance like a bat.
Ask them to produce, and they cannot. Some of them work high, some of them work low. some of them really don't know. Some of them wearing high heels, some of them wear jacket and tie, trying their best to appeal to the kindness of you and I. You see, the degree that they have, Google give them that, that's how I know.
They dance like a bat.
All you take it from king this and that. Mother,
They dance like a bat.
sweet calypso.
They dance like a bat.
A truthful calypso.
They dance like a bat.
Topical and exciting. That's how calypso should be.
King this and that, dance like a bat.
Something with them.
It's a very interesting case. So I think it points, however, that you're right that some people, once they get that piece of paper, they assume that they've arrived and they're better than and all of that. And so it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the fans respond to it and whether or not it's a sentiment that is shared. But I think that it's an interesting take, if you will, on an issue that some have spoken about, and so it's going to be interesting. Before you leave us, King, because I know, as I said, I don't have much time this evening, I'm always fascinated by the creative process. And for somebody like yourself who has been doing this every year, for every Culturama, I believe. I mean, we're now Culturama 48, so you've been doing it
46.
for 46 of those 48 years. I am astonished that each year you can come up with material.
Creativity, it's called.
I understand that it's called creativity, but I'm curious as to how you manage each year to find a topic, to find inspiration to do it. I mean, you've had other Calypsonians, they sing this year, they don't sing for 2 years, they make a comeback, but you're there consistently every year.
The love, of course, for the art form, and of course, once you're in it, you have to keep thinking, keep staying ahead of the game and so forth. So you look for that interesting topic each time, topic that would evoke emotion, you know, not necessarily fighting for competition and so forth, but good calypsos that go on for years and years to come. And that is the angle I'm taking, you know, I've taken over the last couple of years, where I want to produce calypsos that 20, 30, 40 years down the road you're still singing it, and you could affiliate with what the calypsos are saying. And that's why I like this one and the one last year, because it's something that everybody would understand and most people will affiliate with, because, you know, they're true stories, so to speak.
Right. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was King This and That, debuting here and on the mark, his second song for Culturama 48, Dance Like a Bat.
Thank you, and that could go to a lot of people.
Well,
I want to thank you once again, Mark, for giving me the opportunity, because I know it's the season to talk other things, so I'm happy. And let me say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and good night to all those who are listening on the mark at this present time.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was King This and That, debuting another big song here, Dance Like a Bat, song for Culturama 48. Ladies and gentlemen, well, we are here, and we offered King This and That out of respect to him some time at the top of the show, understanding, of course, that this is Culturama, and unfortunately we have a political season that has started, and quite a bit that is happening in the political scene. Let me start by expressing my regret to the family of my good friend Trevi Leiber that I could not be at the candlelight vigil this evening. I was unfortunately preoccupied with other matters and had, of course, a show that I had to attend to, and so I apologize to them, but assure them that my love and support and prayers continue to be with them. I was able today to engage in several different things and activities. Yesterday we did the same. We had a very, very good walk through the CCM team through Cotton Ground, interacted with many of the residents there, knocked on doors, heard people's views and opinions, and I want to thank the people of Cotton Ground for the very warm reception that they gave us and our team. We also had an excellent meeting with some members of the Dominican community, And I want to thank them as well, not Dominican, but Dominican community, the Spanish community. I want to thank them as well for the opportunity to engage with them and again to hear their concerns and certainly to understand what it is they're looking for in terms of better representation for their community. And we continue to listen. Our listening tour continued this afternoon. We should have been in Craddock Road again because of the vigil for Trevi and some other matters. We couldn't quite get that pulled off, but Craddock Road will be there, and we'll be in every community on the island as we continue to fan out and bring a message of hope. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a lot said. There have been a lot of allegations and counter allegations, statements that are made and counter statements that are made, and I think this is part of the cut and thrust of our politics. I know some people say, oh, they're fed up and they're tired, but I urge you to consider that in other countries they can't do what we're doing. In other countries they can't engage as we are engaging. And so in a very real way, St. Kitts and Nevis is demonstrating that we are maturing as a democracy. And certainly programs such as this one and others contribute to that debate and contribute to building the sense of freedom of expression, which is a cornerstone, freedom of speech, of any democracy, any vibrant democracy. And so sometimes the radio shows go after me and hosts seem to fixate on me and they say the most awful things about me. And yes, these things sometimes get to you because we're all human. But at the end of the day, I am comforted in the thought that we are but pieces of the puzzle. And the overall good of the country is really to encourage rather than discourage robust debate. On this show, we accept all shades of opinion. When the phones open, people are entitled to call in and to share their views on any of a variety of topics. What we do say is that we expect you to be respectful of what we have sought to create here, but also respectful of the standards that VON Radio has set over the years that they've been here. Here the motto is only the best will do, and that is something that we take quite seriously. So when the phone's open and you wish to call. Be strong, be vociferous, be firm in your view, whatever that view may be. But let us be respectful. Let me, at this point, extend birthday greetings to two of my favorite people in the world, Jean and Jilly, on top of the hill, twins. They're celebrating today. And I saw Jilly recently, and I also saw Jean recently. And I am persuaded that they can't be more than 22 or 23 years old, just by how they look. So Jean and Jilly, I hope you all have had a wonderful birthday today, and I want to join the whole of Nevis in wishing you a happy birthday. I don't know where you are. You could be home right now, you could be at the Four Seasons, you could be at Park Hyatt, you could be at Kittishon Hill, you could be at Paradise. I don't know where you are, but wherever you are, I hope you're hearing, and I want to extend to you a best birthday greetings and pray that God will continue to watch over you and guide you and guard you, and that you have many more years of good health and happiness. Happy birthday, my loves. I wish you all the very best and hope that the rest of the family is taking excellent care of you on your birthday today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be, I think, an interesting show tonight because we have some ideas to impart and some discussion that we hope we can engender. Now, we have heard various things being said. I was sent a clip of something being said by Dr. Timothy Harris at a meeting that he had last night. And clearly he became confused at one point and sought to suggest that I was his candidate. I want him to know that I could never be his candidate. But that aside, that little bit of mirth and merriment aside, I was very concerned to hear in a clip that was sent to me from his meeting that he made a reference to the Honorable Vance Amory of blessed memory and suggested that Vance told him bad things about me. Let me put it that way. And I thought it was particularly low, even for Timothy Harris, who we know can go very low. Because at the end of the day, the Honorable Vance Amory is not here. Now, I can't say what Vance Amory could have said, would have said, should have said, might have said. I have no idea. But I am concerned when anybody would use the name of somebody who's deceased to seek to make a point when there is no way that we can prove or disprove what is being alleged. Now, we have, of course, tapes of individuals. The Right Excellent and Right Honorable Sir Simeon Daniel, for example, endorsed me and did so on tape publicly. He has gone, but his voice remains. And that provides the evidence that he did and said what he did and said. The Honorable Vance Emery passed away. He passed away quite recently. The pain of that loss to many is still very fresh. Why on earth then would Timothy Harris, who claims that Vance was his friend and his mentor, seek to drag the name of Vance Emery into his politics? Why? That puzzles me. But it really tells me that there is a deeper anxiety now affecting and infecting Timothy Harris's mind. And that might perhaps explain why he is calling my name, that I'm his candidate, and thanking me for being part of his cabinet, when clearly I have nothing to do with the gentleman. Because clearly his mind is unsettled. And so he's now grasping at anything and everything, including invoking the name of Nevis's former premier and former leader of this great CCM party, now deceased, who therefore cannot say from the grave yes or no. But here is Timothy Harris using, even in death, the name of Vance Winkworth Emery. I believe all decent people in this country should cry shame. Shame, Timothy. Shame on you. There are certain things that we do not do. And if it is that you feel that I am all the names that you're now calling me, that's all right. Because I was also there when Dr. Douglas fired you, discarded you. And had we not picked you up, dusted you off, bathed you with quercetin and Dettol, put on a suit on you, shaved you and combed your hair and brought some decency back to you, where would you have been? And so I don't mind now that you say awful things about me, because the history books will show that when you were at your lowest, I will remind you that I was Deputy Premier of Nevis when you were fired. I will remind you that I was already in government in Nevis when you were fired. And you owe a debt of gratitude, if you had any humility and any decency, to say to the People's Action Movement and the Concerned Citizens Movement, thank you for giving me political life and for elevating me to the high office of Prime Minister with one seat. Thank you. But no, now you say you made us strong. How could you have made anybody strong when you had been discarded to the scrap heap of history? We take you up. We took you off the cannery dump. Wash your skin. Quercetin. A young man asked me one name, quercetin. Well, if you don't understand quercetin, I'm sure you will understand Dettol. It's a disinfectant. When you take somebody from the dump, that's what you have to do. Wash their skin. Clean them up. And that's what we did for Timothy Harris. So when now you say the most awful things about us, never forget from whence you came. And the people who made you now the person who feels that you're so powerful and so strong and so pompous, so full of self, that you can now scorn the base degrees by which you did ascend. And I have oft heard it said that ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft. And I urge people all the time not to be ungrateful. I was reflecting to someone just the other day that as a boy, growing up, we were poor. Didn't have much, didn't have a car. My mother used to give me, if I recall, it was either $1.25 or $1.50. And that was to buy my lunch by Miss Howell in town. And that would buy, I believe, a half a bread and luncheon meat, a half a bread and cheese, and a drink. Bryson, I think it was called at the time. Or maybe Juicy, I'm not sure which. We didn't have it. I had to walk to school 2 miles to town, 2 miles back every day. Sometimes when it started to rain. And I have never forgotten the kindness of some of our neighbors who had a little car and would stop and give us a lift if they encountered us on the road. Because we should always be grateful in life. Some may look at those things and say, oh, that's no big deal. But to a small boy walking 2 miles to school in the rain, having no money to take a bus, no school bus available, somebody stopping and giving you a lift is an act of kindness that we ought not to forget. And so when I look at the fact of where we were and where Timothy Harris himself was, and the fact that he was lifted up, dusted off, and transformed into somebody. He used to wear some purple suit that he get a tailor down in Taba to make for him. Now the man wearing suit from Brooks Brothers. And ungrateful to those who have been there for him. Now say, as we have done, that we have fallen out, we understand that. Say, as we have done, that we did not like the direction in which we were going. And 6 members, 6 elected members representing a majority of the parliament decided that enough was enough. And let us move past then this whole effort to call names and say things about us as if memory so short that you forgot where you were and how we picked you up. I remember I went on a particular journey. I was in Brussels and speaking to a regional diplomat in Brussels. She reminded me that when Timothy Harris years ago was foreign minister, he showed up to a foreign minister's meeting internationally in a purple suit made by a tailor in Taba. And the lady said the only thing that she was reminded of is Barney. You know that cartoon character Barney? That's what she was reminded of. And I just had to sit there and listen, because I don't know who wear a purple suit made in Taba to any foreign minister's meeting globally. But that was where he was. Look at the man now. Look at him now. Polished up and cleaned up and disrespecting those who took him and transformed him into somebody. Let us not be ungrateful, my brothers and sisters. In life, disagree with people if you must, but don't ever forget where you came from and who helped you in your hour of need. It's an important lesson. Now, I don't know what people are going to do in relation to this election. I feel very confident here in Nevis. The reception that we have been getting, our message of hope, has been resonating. And there are agents out there who are seeking to sow discord, to say all manner of things. One of the things that they have come to Nevision Youth and said is that the peace program, a program that was put together to provide some resources to divert young people, particularly some of our young men, away from a path which was unproductive to a path that is more productive. A program that was designed to give them opportunity, to provide for them some resources to start a little business, to provide a little income for them, and to say to them that in return we wanted them to lead productive lives and be productive members of the society. It was a program that I fully supported in the federal cabinet, and one that as Premier of Nevis I continue to support. But when we talk about fairness, when we talk about fair share, many feel that it's just an expression about money. And yes, money is important. But we also must take into account how our people are treated. And I'm going to tell you a story this evening. It's a true story of the peace program. And here's my story. When a few weeks ago I checked, there were 1,225 people on that program. Only 71 in Nevis. Nevis has been told you can't put any more people on the program, but St. Kitts is putting on people. Nevis has been told no women are allowed on the program, but in St. Kitts women are on the program. 71 out of 1,225. I want and hope that the youngsters themselves in the various communities are listening to me, because I'm told that agents are coming over from St. Kitts offering all kinds of inducements, trying to seduce you. But these are the facts. Listen to my story. The program in Nevis has a team that manages it, that is under the auspices of the wider and bigger team on St. Kitts. The Nevis government currently has nothing to do with that program. It is entirely a federal program run from Bastia. Now here's what happened. Some of these youngsters were working on the STEP program. And so when the peace program was introduced and they got on that program as well, some of these youngsters end up being paid from STEP and also being paid from the peace program. Listen to my story. That happened in St. Kitts, it happened in Nevis. Instructions came from St. Kitts that could not continue. And so in Nevis, those that operate the program in Nevis were given until October, I'm told, last year, to clean up the program. And the youngsters who were both on STEP and on the peace were required in Nevis to make a choice. They were told you can't get two. You must choose which one. And so some chose to stay on STEP only, some chose to be on the peace. That was their choice. Long and short of it, that in Bastia they sent the direction, the directive, that the list must be cleaned up, and that going forward you can't be on STEP and also on the peace. Nevis, as always, complied. Youngsters, listen to me, and you yourself will know it to be true. Nevis complied, and by October last year, youngsters in Nevis were no longer on both programs. They were on one or the other. But guess what happened? To this very day, their counterparts in St. Kitts are still on both programs. Still collecting money from STEP, still collecting money from peace. And in addition, they are also, some of them, collecting money from PAP too. So they're on peace, PAP, and STEP. But the youngsters in Nevis, remember this is supposed to be a national program, are being treated differently. And are being told in Nevis you could only be on one program. You can't be on more than one. But in St. Kitts, nothing so. You see, when we talk about fairness in our country, I think our people need to start to recognize that what the CCM party is talking about and what we're seeking to stand up for is not just because you disagree with Timothy and the approach that he has taken. And yes, we do disagree. But it's also a more fundamental question, a far broader question of how do we see our country? And is it right that you will say to the youngsters in Nevis, this is the rule, and require that they comply, but their counterparts in St. Kitts, no such rule applies to them? Is that right? Is that fair? Now my view is, if the position is that you could only be on one program, then that ought to be the position across the board. Whether you're from McKnight, Newtown, Saddlers, Deer Bay, or you're from Law Street, Hamilton, Cotton Ground, Newcastle, that should be the rule. So how is it only in Nevis is the rule applied? How is it that the youngsters in Nevis, having been told that monies have been set aside at Development Bank to allow them to access a loan to start a small business, that many of them have not even had an acknowledgement from Development Bank of their application? But their colleagues in St. Kitts have all kinds of businesses that they've started and have been funded through the same program. This is what we are talking about. The STEP program. I want somebody to explain to me how it can be fair that in the same country we can have in Nevis just about 300 STEP workers, and that has been the number since Noah built the ark. We're constantly told no new people can be added. I have been told that by Dr. Harris himself. Program is closed, things are bad, you can't add any new people. But yet the numbers keep growing in St. Kitts, but not in Nevis. How could that be right? I am aware that in the past few months, some 88 or thereabouts new workers have gone on to STEP. And of those, I'm advised, only 9 were from Nevis. 9 out of 88. When we talk about fairness, a lot of youngsters out there looking for something to do, a start. We understand STEP can't be a permanent solution, but for some, fresh out of school, maybe it's a start. And they're being told, no, the program is closed. But how is it closed to them because they happen to be Nevisian? Or they happen to be living in Nevis? But if they were to be living in St. Kitts, it is not close to them. When we talk about fair share, I want people to understand what it is Nevisians are talking about. And I say Nevisians because as I go out and I campaign, more and more people are telling me, Mr. Brantley, we are with you and the CCM on this issue. It is a defining issue in this campaign and in this country. Let us move to the PAP, the Poverty Alleviation Program. Last time I checked, 5,606 people were on that program. That's a program that gives households earning less than $3,000 a month $500 stipend each month. 5,606 people on the program. You know how many of those in Nevis? 701. 701 out of 5,506. I hope that's the number that I gave. 701. That is the difficulty that we have been having. The real difficulty that we have been having. And let me just get my numbers right because I don't. Please bear with me. PAP, sorry, 5,605 persons. The last number I had. 5,605. And of those, 701 are in Nevis. You do the math. It means that over 4,800 are in St. Kitts. That is what we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. When we talk about fairness in the country, equal access to opportunity and to social programs when they're available, that is what we're talking about. We have a geothermal project on Nevis. Now listen to me carefully. The project has been there for many years and it has had some misstarts. We started the project way back in 2004. That is some 18 years ago. We started at one approach with the OS. The NRP entered office in 2006. They adopted a different approach. That didn't work out. It ended up in court. We got back into office in 2013. We tried through an RFP. We selected a company. That didn't work out. They couldn't raise the money. And so here we are. Now we have engaged with the Caribbean Development Bank. And the Caribbean Development Bank has funds that are available. Funds that they will give us by way of grant to do the riskiest phase, which is the production wells. Financially risky, I mean. And once those production wells are proven, then those grants are converted to low interest loans. Win-win scenario. We are well advanced with the CDB. But hear what now. The CDB has been engaging with us through my office, and the CDB has been engaging with the technocrats at NEVLEC and in the NIA. But the CDB needs a letter from the office of the Prime Minister to say that St. Kitts Nevis, the federal government, does not object to the CDB dealing directly with the NIA. The CDB went so far as to send that letter months ago in draft, before the government collapsed. And I duly delivered that to Timothy Harris. Up to this moment, as I speak to you tonight, we cannot get the letter simply to say to the CDB, we do not object to the project moving forward with Nevis. No cost whatsoever to the federal government. No responsibility whatsoever of the federal government. Just for the federal government to say, we do not object to the CDB engaging with the geothermal project on Nevis. That's it. Can't get it. So our people now are subject to increasing gasoline, increasing fuel prices, increasing electricity charges. Almost every month your bill is going up. The cabinet in Nevis met today and we discussed the matter to see what can we do, even in the short term, to help. The problem that we have is that NEVLEC is saying that at this point last year, they were paying $6.87 per gallon for diesel. Now they're paying $14.85. You hear me? From $6.87 last year at this time to $14.85 this year. You look at the difference, more than 100% increase. NEVLEC's fuel bill from Delta has doubled, and NEVLEC is groaning under the weight. And every month the fuel bill gets higher and higher, and every month NEVLEC seeks to pass on some. You know, I hear people bawling about the surcharge, and they should, and I will deal with that momentarily. But you're still not paying the full surcharge because NEVLEC has adopted a 6-month rolling average to try and cushion the impact on our consumers. If the full surcharge was passed on, it would be many times higher than what it is currently. And so geothermal, renewable energy, would be a blessing to the people of Nevis and the wider federation, because all the plans that we had included export of energy to St. Kitts. We are only 2 miles away, and so it was easy. In fact, we've already done the interconnectivity studies to connect St. Kitts and Nevis and provide energy to St. Kitts. But instead of supporting the geothermal project in Nevis, either through the CBI, Citizenship by Investment, as was promised in the Charleston Accord, or alternatively to send a simple letter to the CDB to say we do not object to the CDB involving itself with the project in Nevis. Cost sink is nothing. All that they're doing is being a big stone in the way of Nevis and Nevis's development. That's all. But look at what that is now costing us, the people of Nevis and the wider federation. Because we could now have had our own energy supply, which insulates us from all the confusion in Ukraine and all the OPEC countries not wanting to increase production so that the price is kept high. We could have been insulated from all that. Instead of working with this project in Nevis, we heard the former minister in St. Kitts, the guy Patches Libert, say that he signed a contract for geothermal in St. Kitts, knowing that St. Kitts don't have no geothermal. The resources are Nevis. But that has been the reality. They have now gone and signed for a major solar farm. But the cost per kilowatt hour to the consumer is substantially higher from solar than it would have been from geothermal. But again, the geothermal energy is on the island of Nevis, so it should not be supported. Even though it has benefits for the entire country, it should not be supported. That is what I'm talking about when we talk about fairness and equity in our country. Now in other countries, if I were in Jamaica, if I were in Barbados, I am pretty sure that in Barbados, Prime Minister Motley would have said, St. Lucie has geothermal, let us develop it so that the whole of Barbados could benefit. But because it seems that we are from Nevis, that certain things are too good for us, and we ought not to progress, and we ought not to benefit. It takes me to the question of the surcharge. Yesterday, as we walked in Cotton Ground, a gentleman reminded me that I must remind you that the fuel surcharge doesn't exist on St. Kitts because the same citizenship by investment money is used to subsidize that in St. Kitts. So while homeowners, households, mom and pop small businesses in Nevis are crying out for fuel surcharge, in St. Kitts a cushion is provided from our same passport money that we in Nevis are being told we ought not to receive a fair share of. Is that fair and equitable? And I'm asking not only Nevisians, I'm asking the people of our nation, because there have to be Kittitians of good conscience who look at these matters that I'm raising tonight and say no, they cannot be fair. They cannot be right. If we are brothers and sisters in the same country, then this disparate treatment cannot be right. And when I stand up and I say enough is enough, because all of these matters we keep talking about, we keep arguing about, we keep seeking to find resolution, we keep meeting about, we keep writing about, there's no resolution. Then what am I to do? To continue to stay there, knowing that there's no appetite, there's no desire to change these things about our country? I would be failing the Nevisian people if I were to do that. And so they say now, they brand me and say that I'm greedy, that I'm not satisfied, I want more. And I've said no, I just want what belongs to Nevis. That's all. Just give us what is ours and allow us through that to have the financial wherewithal to have our own peace program in Nevis, to have our own STEP program in Nevis, to have our own social safety nets developed in Nevis and for Nevis, to be able to provide relief to our consumers of electricity in such a difficult period in which the world finds itself, to develop geothermal energy to insulate us from these exogenous shocks that we continue to experience in this world. That is what this election is about. And that is why we have said that we must remove that big stone that is in Church Street. We have to. You know, I have endured, and Nevis has endured so much. I'm going to tell you another story. During the height of this pandemic, Cabinet and I sat and we agonized. What could we do? Four Seasons and the hotel sector was closed down. Borders were closed. If borders close, it means no tourists can come. And this was the case since March of 2020. We agonized, what could we do? Where are we going to find resources from to take care of our people? It was a most difficult time. In fact, no leader in the history of this island has ever had to deal with a global pandemic. Because the last one was 100 years ago. So even the greats, such as Sir Simeon Daniel, never had to deal with a global pandemic. And we sat and we decided that let us not rest, but during this time when the island was naturally on pause, let us continue to do certain things. And one of the things that we decided to do was to completely revamp the Nevis Investment Promotion Agency, the website, to create a portal to enhance our ease of doing business and encourage investors to come in. And as part of that exercise, I did an interview as Premier of Nevis and Minister of Finance, saying Nevis was open for business, indicating to the world that we wanted to start a film industry here in Nevis. Someone responded positively, and MSR Media and I would have engaged with each other sometime, if memory serves, in December of 2020. Engaged with each other in December of 2020. MSR decided to take a chance on Nevis because, of course, Nevis had no history of a movie business. And so they decided to take a chance on us, and we decided to take a chance on them. And MSR moved its operation to the island of Nevis, brought its crew, its equipment and everything, and we started to make movies here. I have been pleased, ladies and gentlemen, that only tonight MSR sent out a call, a casting call for extras for its 7th movie. It will be an action film, and they're asking for people to step forward to play various roles in that film. They will start filming soon. I was contacted by someone dear to me from Georgia who said that family members of hers were on a flight to Las Vegas on Delta Airlines, and they were able to view in flight the movie A Week in Paradise, filmed here in Nevis, and how proud they were. We did that. As a response to COVID, we created a movie industry. I remember well how we were scoffed at. People laugh and say, what chuppiness Mark say do about movie? Many believed it could not happen. But you know what happened? And here's my story. After some realized that it was happening, you know what Timothy Harris and his team sought to do? They sought to go around me and the NIA and sought to steal away the movie business to St. Kitts. A lot of things I have not said publicly, but I am seeking for you to appreciate the level of unfairness that has impacted this country for far too long. And why it's important for us as Nevisians to stand up together and to right this ship of state, and to demand that every citizen in this country is allowed to enjoy the full fruits of his citizenship. Tried to steal it away, made all kinds of offers, but they had to relocate the whole kit and caboodle to St. Kitts. And I am sitting down in a cabinet with the very people. I remember one day I was told that there was some big press conference. Akila Byron had some big press conference, and I said, oh, this is interesting. I said they're going to announce that they've done a deal with Disney, with MGM. Something big is happening in the movie industry in St. Kitts, only to hear the same MSR that was here with Nevis from the jump is who they got big press conference about in St. Kitts. Yes? But you see, Nevis and Nevisians are praying people. And I am far, far from perfect. But every night before I go to bed, I seek to pray, wherever I am in the world. And sometimes, even when we don't deserve it, God is there with us. And that is why they speak of His unmerited grace. We don't merit it, we don't deserve it. Today I am proud to say that MSR is advertising its 7th film. And MSR continues to be right here with us in Nevis and doing well, despite the efforts by people that I was sitting down in cabinet with to steal them away to St. Kitts. Now, you taking 93% of the CBI receipts. You have $5 billion sitting down on. And you mean to tell me that the little movie business that Nevis went out and through innovation, through leadership that was thinking, that you try to thief that too? Let us confront these things, and I speak with absolute truth. In fact, I challenge any of them to suggest to me that I am not speaking the truth. These are the things that have happened and continue to happen. Who is going to defend these things? They're not right. And it seems to me sometimes now that those who are willing to speak up and say that these things aren't right, that they are to be crucified, accused, called vagabonds and greedy. You know the latest narrative that I've heard from Dr. Harris and his employees in the NRP in Nevis now is that Mark Brantley and his CCM team cannot manage money, that we are not capable. But I ask you to look at the evidence. Bear in mind that the pittance that we have received came, and there were 2 years when the major engines of the Nevis economy were shut down. But what were we able to do in Nevis? Over the course of time that I have been in office in Nevis, first as Deputy Premier and now as Premier since December of 2017. I started one line item, salaries and wages. People say that we received $400 million over 7 years. And they ask, well, what was done with that money? And I smile every time I hear the question. Just a talking point. created in Bastille by the highly paid British advisors who are here, getting over 1.6 million pounds sterling. I don't know where the money is coming from, but we will find out in time. But getting this money from Timothy Harris. And they said, let us create this talking point. And since the NRP is now bought hook, line and sinker by Timothy Harris, let us send it over to them and let them run with it. And so they say, Nevis get $400 million, what happened to it? But I asked the people of Nevis and the people of the wider federation, if you're in St. Kitts and you're not accustomed to come to Nevis, come over. In fact, call me, I'll take you on a tour. Because when I look at what has happened on this island of Nevis, I start with that first line item, wages and salaries. Now if you get $400 million, especially bearing in mind that 2 years out of those 7 years, because remember this money came over 7 years, you were locked down due to COVID. But every single employee of the government in Nevis, and every pensioner, and every employee of every statutory corporation, NEVLEC, NASPA, NTA, Solid Waste, were paid on time and in full, even during the pandemic. I'm very proud of that because sometimes people take that for granted. It might interest you to know that over the course of 7 years, where we collected $400 million as the crumbs from the CBI table, that our wage bill in Nevis over that same period was more than double the $400 million. I believe that that needs to be reiterated. In wages and salaries, over the period of the 7 years, we would have paid out more than double what we collected as the crumbs from the CBI table from St. Kitts. Put that in context for your monthly. We were collecting $2.5 million a month, and then we started to collect $3.75 million a month. All when we were collecting that, our wage bill was just under $9 million a month. You hear me? So, the little money that came couldn't even cover half of our wages and salaries in Nevis. People asking where the money went. It went into paying wages and salaries to ensure that our people who depend on government for a living took home their paycheck, and our pensioners took home their paycheck. And even with the pittance that we got, we still had to go and find more money just to pay that line item. But it didn't stop there. We built the Mondo track, and as many who have sought to vilify that, I have lived long enough to see that that track has already started to bear fruit when our athletes from the Charleston Primary School went to St. Kitts and won the first ever relay competition among all of the primary schools. Not only that, but 4, I believe, schools from Nevis competed, and all 4 finished in the top 10 nationally. It used to be that they would run up at ETW Park on grass and dirt, then have to transform to go to St. Kitts to run on a proper surface. We said no, and we built the Mondo track. It is there for all to see. Huge investment in our young people and in our sporting fraternity here. We built the water taxi pier. We didn't just build it because we wanted to build something. We built the water taxi pier. You know why? The water taxi operators have revolutionized travel between St. Kitts and Nevis. And the water taxi operations are 100% Nevisian based, Nevisian owned at this point in time. 100%. So we invested in them by putting that water taxi pier there. And look at the usage. Just over the weekend of music festival, just over that weekend, the numbers tell us that over 8,000 passengers used our two facilities, Charlestown and that water taxi pier. And the water taxi pier had more than half of those over 8,000 passengers. Put to good use, supporting all the businesses over there that are part of the water taxi operation. Islander, Blue Wave, Blackfin, all of them that operate out of there. This was an investment in them. Nevis owned industry that we as a government supported. The Newcastle Police and Fire Station. Every time I pass that, I say thank God for Alexis Zook Jeffers. Because when others, including Nevisians, went down to Sinkis and said Newcastle don't need no police station, he insisted and was put in charge of that project and has delivered one of the finest facilities in the entire Federation. We look at the Joyceton Library Kitchen. Another project for which we must congratulate Alexis Jeffers, because he was asked to spearhead that project and he delivered it for the people of Gingerland and the students at the Joyceton Library Primary School. We look at the David Freeman Center of Excellence. If you have been there to market shop and you have not been impressed, then something is wrong with you. Kudos to the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who said that this project had to be done, and it was done, to create an alternative site there for cultural activities, cultural preservation, for big shows. In fact, Culturama last year occurred at the David Freeman Center of Excellence. Look at the new Treasury building in Charlestown. I was driving through Charlestown some nights ago and I look up now and I said, oh, I can now see what the time is, because there's a clock that is there. Remember there used to be a clock on top the courthouse building? Well, there's one there now in our brand new Treasury building. Look at that. The old Treasury had been burnt down. Look at the fact that we now have CCTV, state of the art, deployed across the island, with a brand new command center in Charlestown. Somebody recently said to me that they thought it was a space command center. How sophisticated and advanced it is. An investment in our safety and security. During COVID, we renovated all the schools in Nevis. High schools and primary schools. All the government schools were renovated to make them COVID proof. All of that was done in order to protect our children and our teachers. We upgraded our sporting facilities all across Nevis. I have some of them written down here. Ramsbury, Cherry Gardens, Bath, Jessops, Cotton Ground. And if you attended, I'm sure you must say how impressed you are with the brand new netball complex that we have just reopened in the heart of Charlestown, right across from the Charlestown Secondary School. We fix long-standing sewage issues for homeowners in Cherry Gardens. I am so proud that we were able to deliver, because when I campaigned there and I knocked on doors, many complained. Many complained. And I just want to say that that is something that we have delivered. I remember my cousin-in-law Sharika Libert coming to me. Beautiful woman now, unfortunately of blessed memory. And she was one of the staunch advocates, someone who kept reminding me that this had to be done. And I'm advised that some over 50 homeowners in Cherry Gardens would have benefited from that. You don't see any water on the street running in Cherry Garden anymore. Problem has been solved. Government that is doing work for our people. Road construction law, don't talk about roads. Hanley's Road, Brownhill, Braziers, Shaw's Road, Butler's Road, Bath. Housing. A revolution has happened in housing in Nevis. You know, a Kittian friend of mine sent me a little video. He said they were over here. And if you heard the comments from the Kittian brothers and sisters traveling in the bus as they were videotaping the homes that were in the area there, the Maddens area. And they were taping the homes and the comments about the beauty, the classy homes that are being built here on the island of Nevis. They couldn't believe it was a government housing project. I believe that you should note that we currently have housing happening simultaneously in Maddens, Garners, Hamilton, Craddock Road, Prospect, Rices. Never in the history of Nevis have we had housing developments happening simultaneously all across the island, as I've just described. Yet people ask, what is happening? What was done with money? I'm saying to you, look around you. Look at Nevlek. And the fact that at Nevlek we have purchased not one, not two, but 3 engines in the last few years. We are now in the best shape we've ever been in terms of our transmission. Investing. We installed a new water filtration system at Hamilton. And you know why we did that? Because there was a well sitting down at Hamilton for years. A high producing well that was not putting any water into the system because the manganese and chemical content in that well was too high. And we invested in this water filtration system that has put thousands of gallons of new water into our system. We had new security equipment at our port. We had upgrades to our tower and runway at the Vance Armory Airport. We provided safety nets to our people all during COVID. We invested in a new paver. We also had another machine, you know, the name is eluding me. I'm hoping somebody could call and help me with it. That rips off the road and allows us to redo the road. Brand new. And I can tell you that right now, on the high seas, headed to Nevis, are brand new garbage trucks and brand new equipment for solid waste. You know, when they talk about managing, I have just given you a short list of what we've been able to do. And during all that time, we still provided for our people. Social safety nets, scholarships for our young people, financial assistance each year, help to our farmers, help to our fishers. We, ladies and gentlemen, managed the COVID-19 pandemic. The best record in the region is right here in Little Nevis. Managed it with the expertise of Dr. Judy Nisbet and her entire team. Our island owes them a debt of gratitude. We work closely with them. I didn't know anything about COVID. But responsible leadership is leadership that listens and understands that when you yourself don't know, you must get the advice of those who do know. And we were guided by them and by the task force in St. Kitts as well, headed by Abdius Samuel, all of whom did an excellent job and to whom we owe a debt of gratitude. But on Nevis, we managed COVID the best in the region. And people look at us now and say that we don't know what we're doing. Look around us. Look around Nevis. See what is happening on this island home of ours. I have not even touched the private sector. All that I touched there was the public sector. What we as a government did. But the enabling environment for the private sector. Look at the number of new restaurants that have opened here. Look around. Look at some that are even supposed to open soon. Look down on the beach and what is happening down there. Oh, how could I forget the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park? I hit with everybody. Even our brothers and sisters from St. Kitts are coming over saying that's where they want to have the events. All of this done, notwithstanding the world was on its knees from a global pandemic. And yet you hear the cries from the misguided few, parroting lines that they've been sent from Bastille. Oh, nothing is happening and where the money gone and they can't manage. Well, what better management could you require? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sharing information and I'm taking time to make the case because I think the case is important. You know that we were able to receive some statistics. Some statistics from Social Security. And those statistics I thought from Social Security were quite telling. They were quite telling. Because they set out a narrative. And as I'm going through my phone here, let me just share this with you. In Nevis, for January to June 2022, some 103 new building permits were approved. There were 98 new construction startups for the period January to May 2022, consisting of 74 new properties and 24 renovations to existing properties. There are currently 166 active construction sites on the island of Nevis. But let us look at wages. Social Security data, which we know doesn't capture many self-employed and doesn't capture many people who are working illegally, but nevertheless are working. So the numbers are really higher than what are here. But when we look at the period up to March 2022, we see that on the island of Nevis, the number of employees has grown by 2.9%. St. Kitts, 1.7%. The number of jobs in Nevis has grown 4.9%. On St. Kitts, 2.3%. The gross monthly wages in millions of EC dollars has grown 7.3% on Nevis. In St. Kitts, 5.1%. The gross monthly wages per employee has grown 4.3% in Nevis. In St. Kitts, 3.2%. The reason why that comparison is important, because it means that in every category, number of employees, number of jobs, gross monthly wages per employee, Nevis has performed best in class. And people talk about our management. My brothers and sisters, the reason I've taken the time, you see, is because it is important that we set the facts before our people and the record before our people. What we have done and what we continue to do. All that we do is for the advancement and empowerment of our people. And we have said to our young people, we will not forget you. Not only are we invested in sporting facilities and the like, improving them, enhancing them, but we are also saying to our young people that where you require training, we've invested in the TVET Center in Gingerland, and we'll invest in a second one in Charlestown. technical training. Where you require academic training, we'll continue to provide scholarships, whether through friendly governments or through our own resources. Not only that, we have gone on record to say that it is unconscionable that the Development Bank is still charging on student loans some people up to 11% in this day and age. And we have said that all student loans should be capped at 5%. And that is a commitment that you can take to the bank. When we are back in Church Street, these are things that must be done and done immediately. We have said to our students just yesterday in Cotton Ground, a youngster was there crying out because his economic cost is no longer being paid at UA. That is unconscionable. Economic cost has to be restored for all students studying at the University of the West Indies. We are saying to our young people and to our people generally that a government that is genuinely interested in development is not concerned about building $2.5 billion prisons. Jailing you cannot be high on any government's developmental agenda. What should be at the top of our agenda is healthcare. What should be on the top of our agenda is education. The safety and security of our people. The ability to build resilience in our economy and build resilience in our island and in our country. Because we know not when the next pandemic or the next hurricane or the next exogenous shock will come. That is what we ought to be about. But some are not interested in that. They prefer to build a $2.5 billion jail because that jail is earning money for them and their family. That is what their interest is. But having built the jail, I keep asking the question, who's going to fill it? Who is going to fill it? And all around the world, the profile of those in jail is very similar. Poor people, black people, brown people. We must be very careful the road down which we are traveling and the recklessness that some are engaged in. I have listened to the campaigns and I have heard nothing from Timothy Harris that offers any hope. He tell you, take free electricity. I'm going to increase the PAP. I'm going to increase the step. I'm going to give you more money. I'm going to give. But have you heard one idea to stimulate the economy? Have you heard one idea to create jobs in St. Kitts and Nevis? No. Freeness. Food, drink, walk up. But where are the ideas to take us forward? Young people, have you heard any commitment to capping interest rates on student loans to 5%? Have you had any commitment to restoring economic cost at UE for your studies? Have you had any commitment to TVET and creating the environment for you to get training? If all that they're prepared to do is expand the peace program, even though they say crime is down, expand the expand the PAP, because you know, the irony of ironies is that if you were to step back and evaluate critically, the more people that are going on PAP, the more people that are going on STEP, the more people that are going on peace, the more people that are going on various social programs, is an indication of how badly the economy is doing. And I said so because it is true. Because if it was that the economy was growing, jobs were being created on St. Kitts, good paying jobs, then there would be no need to add more and more people to PAP, more and more people to STEP, more and more people to peace. We all know that people on the peace now have nothing to do with what the intention of the peace program was initially. These are now just friends and family, a way to collect a check, get some free money. That is how every single thing has been bastardized. And so you must make that decision and that determination, because on this path it seems to me that we are headed to a welfare state where people are not going to be encouraged to work or encouraged to educate themselves, or the means for them to do so will not be provided. No, they'll be told, no, stay home and collect some little change. Because the fundamental idea is to grow the economy. You're not hearing anything from that. And the best I've heard, don't pay your electricity bill. We're going to tell you about that after. So you go. So if you use that and you go vote for Timothy, so when Timothy gets in and he tell you about it after, and the after is, well, you got to pay it now, what you going to do? And this is the point, you see, ladies and gentlemen. These are the fundamental points that you must ask, because you're not hearing any ideas about your development. You're hearing some short gain freeness, but nothing about your development. What are we going to do about our country to ensure that we harness the talents of all of our people? How are we going to deal with climate change? How are we going to grow our economy? Many are predicting that the world is headed to a recession. With this invasion by Russia of Ukraine, with the crippling effects of rising oil prices, that even the most dominant economies and the richest countries in the world are groaning under the pressure. Hyperinflation, food prices skyrocketing, food shortages. Are you hearing anybody talking about food security? You hearing CCM talking about these things? Not only now, since the pandemic, our biggest investment in terms of concessions was in the context of food security. So you must start to ask yourself, which is the party? Which are the parties? Who are the leaders? Who are the individuals speaking about tangible, long-term development for our country? Not short-term giveaways, because there's no Santa Claus, and everything that you're being given is public money, being used as an election gimmick. That is all it is. And I just want our people to start to look critically at these things. I have decided for the rest of this campaign that I can't really be bothered with Timothy Harris anymore, because I think even he knows that he is past his sell-by date. He finds himself not only in the checkout lounge of politics, but they're calling his flight. And resist as he might, he must get on that flight. And where's that flight? That flight is to take him back to Taba and to leave him over there. If he prefers and he wants to go to the dump at Canary where we picked him up from, it is to take him there. But never again will he see Church Street. And as much bravado as he has had, look now how time is running out. Sean Richards and I offered Timothy Harris compromise, you know. We said, let us sit down. Let us, as reasonable men and leaders, come to a position where we change direction, because where we were going could not work. And I'm told he had two sets of advisors in his camp. One set was telling him, be reasonable. The other set was saying, tell them, you're the boss, you're the big man. They want war, give them war. And foolishly, he listened to those who were preaching war. And now he is going to find himself out of bread, and them can't give him biscuit, because he decided to dissolve the parliament on the 10th of May, and asked the Governor General to disappoint 6 members of the cabinet. The same 6 who asked the Governor General to disappoint 1. Gigi said he can't do that. But disappointed 6 on the instructions of that same one. But that's alright, because I told people from then that it was a temporary time off, a holiday, if you will. Because straight back down there we going. But look at it now. Based on who he has brought to the public of St. Kitts and Nevis as candidates, and based on what I know of all who he asked to run who tell him no, they're not running for him, you know that what he has here is a remnants now. These were what you would call not the first choice, but the last resort. And then when you hear them on the platform speaking as if English is their second language, you understand the difficulty that they have. And you appreciate that here you have a team that is comprised really of one individual. And that was, you see, the difficulty that Timothy Harris had with us. Because those who know me know you can't sit down in a room and tell me choppiness and expect me to say yeah. No, me went to school too. I also went to school. And even if I didn't go to school, I have something called common sense. And so when you come and tell big man foolishness, what you expect us to do? But you see with this team you have there, Lord of mercy, not one of them you could look at and say, okay, this is somebody who you could have some confidence in to go out there and represent you internationally. Not one. And so you understand that this is not the best of the best. This is the best of the rest. These weren't his first choice, these were his last resort. And that shows what we always said. He was never ready. He took actions based on emotion, based on desire to be the epicenter of everything happening in the country, based on self-aggrandizement, not based on what was good for the country, not based on stability for the country. No. And so guess what happened now? He knows that they're not ready. He knows that with all the money that is being spent, the team that he have is the worst team ever assembled in the politics of St. Kitts and Nevis. But guess what? He has to ring the bell. Somebody now tell me that he's going to go down until the last day, August 8th. I say, listen, if even he chooses to do that, we know he has to ring the bell. Because the Constitution dictates what must happen. And he's now cornered in a situation where there is nowhere to turn. Time is up. That's why I say they're calling the flight. Calling Timothy Harris. Please come out of the bathroom. Timothy Harris, your flight is boarding. Calling Timothy Harris. You must get on the flight. And that is a flight from Church Street. Your choice. Either back to Taba or to the dump at Connery where we picked you up from. But either way, you are done. And I want you to understand that quite clearly. Now if you know me, I dissolved Parliament on May 10th. I would have had things in place. I have my team ready. I have my resources ready. I'm good to go. I say yes. Me catch them off guard and let us go to the polls because I'm so popular. But we all know nothing goes so. Nothing goes so. And so the flight is boarding. The flight is boarding. And I am just asking the people of Nevis to hold faith with the Concerned Citizens Movement, because when that flight boards, we are headed to Church Street. That is where we are headed. That is our destination. In number 10, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, a man of and for the people. In number 11, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the hardest working minister in the country. And in number 9, yours truly. And I believe that I have demonstrated that I am prepared to stand up for the people of my beloved Nevis. When I was in opposition, I did so. And when I entered government, I did so. Quietly, at first. But when I realized that quiet diplomacy was not yielding the benefits, I came to the public. And I have been here in the public domain ever since, speaking these things and understanding that I'm speaking truth. Truth. I have no need to tell any lies, because the stories must be told. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 25 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. I have taken up almost all the time speaking to the matters that I wanted to raise this evening. I'm going to open the lines, however, and allow you a few moments to call in as we conclude the show at 10. Let me just, before I do that, say that tomorrow evening the Big Blue Machine will be in the heart of Jessop's, bringing our message of hope to the people of St. Thomas's and the wider community. And then on Saturday we go over to Brick Hill for a massive public meeting there, and we ask you to join us. Let's go to the phones and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Michelle.
Good evening to you, my dear.
How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I am good.
Mm-hmm.
Sympathy is going out to Jovan Swanston and family on the passing of their mom. Psalm 103, verse 1, 2, and 3. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is with me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy diseases. Sympathy is going out to all who lose their loved one. May God continue to bless all of us. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you so much. And I really had not heard of the passing of Jovan's mom. I want to extend, Jovan, if you're listening, to you and the entire family, my deepest condolences. She was a lovely, lovely lady, and this news is really surprising to me. But please accept my condolences and know that you will be in my prayers. We continue to take calls then. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Brother Mark, good evening.
Good evening to you.
This is Carlton.
How are you, my brother?
Yeah, I did not attend PAM function yet because I wanted to listen to you. So I was on my balcony enjoying your great display tonight. But I got a very important question to ask you as a lawyer that so many people asking me, but I can't get nobody to come on my program to answer it.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Harris can call the election up to August 8th. He can announce it on August 8th, or the election must be held by August 8th.
My understanding is that the election must be held by August 8th. So that means he has to announce an election very shortly.
Good. Anyway, it must come. But I want to say again that when I listen to you here this evening, I am convinced that we have an enormous amount of hope with you working along with Sean Richards, because we are going to continue doing our hard work to bring in minimum of 3 seats to join you. And I'm looking forward for a historic swearing in Parliament next. You work hard over there. I promise you I'm working hard down here. And I love you all, and keep working, and I'm going to pray for you all.
Thank you so much, my brother. And
Yes.
I'm told you're on a new station now.
Yeah, I'm on a new station now, Win FM, and I'm going to pay tomorrow for a lot more programs, and I'm going to ask Vaughn Radio to give me some hours over there. I'm on the move. I'm waiting for the bell to ring, and then I'll multiply the hours.
Okay, my brother. All right.
Right.
I'll call you off here tomorrow, not tonight, because I know you have to go to the meeting.
Yeah.
I need to discuss the matter with you, okay?
And I'm looking forward before the election to engage you one-on-one in studio.
No problem. We will make it happen.
Right.
Okay. Take care, my brother.
Peace.
All right. Cheers. You know, it's so good that people look out for me, because a friend of mine just sent me the machine that we bought. I couldn't remember. It's a milling machine. So we had the brand new paver, brand new milling machine. So thank you very much, my dear friend. I won't call your name, but thank you for the information. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening to you.
And how are you? How are you?
We're good, thank you. We don't have a lot of time, so go ahead.
Yes, I was listening while you're speaking. I'm glad people ain't getting the thing right, Mr. Mark, because everything fall through. You like to cut across, and then he's saying your all is the fault of it. Look how you are doing it, you're doing the movie so good. He come and he wanted to cut across. And we're not blaming people. Mr. Mark, I don't know what happening, but you all got to watch him carefully, you know. He say like he want to close down the place when coming on to election, but the COVID talk again. You all got to watch him and you all got to back check them list. People who just get with passport ain't supposed to vote. Mr. Mark, I used to live in St. Martin, 79 to 80, 78, sorry, to 82. I see election come, I see election go. I couldn't never go to vote because me born there. Right? Me never go and just pass them in and out and they go quietly voting. I don't know where these people going to get strength from. They just as provocative on Mr. Mark when somebody coming into your country and decide for you. When you look, they gone back. Some of them take the passport because they like it, because they won't go to other country, and I hope that they put us into trouble, you know.
All right.
That's why the tourist boat can't come here.
Okay. Well, caller,
can't come here and that can't come there.
all right. Caller, as I said,
joke.
caller, you have to wrap up. We don't have a lot of time tonight. I don't mean to rush you, but
The joke you mean the thing, he mean down there the last that calling your name.
yeah, well, I mean, that's, you know, people don't stone empty mango tree, so you don't worry about that. All right? Thank you for your contribution, and thank you as always. Ladies and gentlemen, it is just about 16 minutes to the hour. We're taking some calls, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Let's go right back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hey, good evening to you, Mr. Premier.
Yes, good evening.
And good evening to the listening audience right across the planet. And I want to first blame you for the situation here, where you're coming now after 5 years as Premier and 7 years in unity to complain to people about money and to complain to the top dog about money and cut the top dog about money and ask the region to send you back to touch sheet about money when you came to touch sheet in 2021, in 2020 I must say, with 3 seats and Sam had 4. Don't you think you could have legislated anything you wanted on behalf of the Nevis people in terms of any kind of issue, even though it does not exist in the Constitution, and you wanted it to exist in the CBI, the SIDF, or whatever system you wanted the money out of? And it's important people understand that.
All right, caller, is that
you're the lawyer?
Caller, is that your point? Because I said
No,
time
I
is
said
short.
you're the lawyer, meaning that you're the lawyer, and you have to understand. You settle for that fair share for that 7 and 5 years, and you soon fool people and tell them that people is not getting the fair share. When you mention it a few months ago in some convention, my question to you, right? You say you would never in favor of Timothy being Prime Minister. You would never in favor of him being Prime Minister 2015 and 2020. And you would have, if you had your way, you would have prevented it. Mr. Brantley, all these situations here could have been prevented if you have done what you said in preventing Timothy from being Prime Minister.
Okay. All right. Caller, thank you very much for your contribution. Caller, I know you, and I keep suggesting to you, sometimes when people send you something to read, you must, engage with them a bit so you understand the assignment. Right? And I mean no disrespect when I say that, but if you're going to be a chulo, right, be a good one. The difficulty that I have is that you clearly have not been listening, and that's part of the problem we have in the country. People have a narrative that is fed to them, and they just try to regurgitate it. They don't bother to analyze it or seek in any way, shape or form to assess it. Now, the argument that you're advancing about legislation is an argument that is now, I believe, tired. Because inherent in the argument that we require legislation to get a fair share for Nevis is the admission that Timothy Harris is a scamp, that he is untrustworthy because he signed a document committing himself to a fair share. So the very man who signed that document is now saying, through his own mouth and through paid mouthpieces like yourself, that the document was worthless and only through legislation we could have achieved. But do you know that under Vance Emery he started to pay monies to Nevis, and under me as Premier he has paid monies to Nevis? In fact, the monies, as he has often reminded us, were increased. I think from 2 to 2.5 to 3.75, now to 5.5 million. Well, where was the legislation for that? Where was the cabinet submission for that? I say that to say that all that this required was for people to have integrity and to do that to which we had all committed ourselves. So even in your agitation to seek to say that I failed because I did not bring legislation, please be reminded that what you're really saying is that your top dog, as you call him, is dishonest, untrustworthy, and has no integrity. Now, you say I did not want Timothy Harris to be Prime Minister in 2015 and 2020. I have never said that. I said I did not support him to be Prime Minister in 2020. Again, caller, if you recall, I was the one who introduced him at Greenlands as our next Prime Minister when we launched Team Unity. So it is not accurate to say that I didn't want him to be Prime Minister in 2015. It's after I saw him and how he behaved as Prime Minister in 2015 onwards, I said no. I wasn't satisfied that we should go back in that direction. I believe history will prove me correct, that it was a mistake for us to go back in that direction. And I will leave that there. We have 10 minutes. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, please join us in Jessop's as the Big Blue Machine rolls out in the parish of St. Thomas's. And then on Saturday evening, the CCM party will be in the great village of Brickhill as we take our message of hope to the people of Nevis. We are coming to the byways and the highways, to the alleys, to the hills and valleys. We are coming with our message of hope for the people of Nevis. I believe that the people of Nevis understand representation. I have 10 minutes. The phones haven't rung, so let me use the time to say this. This Harris family jail is resonating. Young people are saying to me, I can't get a scholarship, I can't get assistance to go and study, but Timothy Harris building a jail. It is his jail. And the fact that he has given some Chinese investors 5,500 shares valued at $2.5 billion. Says that it will be the most expensive infrastructural project ever undertaken in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis. In fact, the quotation that we had to do a bridge between St. Kitts and Nevis was half that price. And so, in usual fashion, not only has he reached into the grave to use the name of Vance Emery to distract, but he came up with this thing about Spencer Brand has some project. And then I see the woefully inefficient and woefully incompetent leader of the NRP jump up, say she send letter that Spencer must resign. And I see a fella send around a WhatsApp today, say he going on march. And a young person call me and tell me, man, just give him a Kit Kat and he gonna forget about the march. I don't know what they mean by that, but they say if you give him a Kit Kat, he gonna forget about the march. But the lady wrote a letter saying Spencer must resign, and I said, well, why should Spencer resign? Spencer bought land, he and his wife, with a loan from Bank of Nevis. He didn't buy no government land, he bought private land in 2008. Spencer is an architect, he designed something. He got approval in 2014 under Vance Emery to develop his land, and approval from the same Timothy Harris in 2015 for the CBI program. Spencer did not become a member of my government until 2017 December. What has he done wrong? Nothing for Spencer Brand has ever become before my administration or my cabinet of which he's a member. Spencer did all that he did as a private citizen. So what you trying to tell me now? My good CCM cousin Pat, who says she running against me on occasions. So if tomorrow Pat getting in to government, Pat need to sell occasions? Or must resign, or there should be an investigation about Pat? That would obviously be foolishness. She acquired occasions as a private citizen, as a private woman, long before she got into politics. So what nonsense are we really saying? And I don't want to get too much into it, you know. Because the leader of NRP own business, and as we dig, we're going to find she has interests in other business. She tumbled out and sent USVI. And we're still trying to find out what happened down there. Don't let me get started, because when I get started, it's hard for me to stop. I tell you all, focus on issues that matter to the people of Nevis. Because you go down certain road and start to attack decent people, people going to start to ask questions. What happened in the US Virgin Islands? Are you the owner of businesses now? And if so, are you going to resign or sell or get rid of those businesses? What are we saying to our people? That Spencer and his wife as Nevisians can't invest in their own country? Long before the man was in government. Long before. But you see again, the paymaster say, are you run with that? See if that work. And a whole heap of cataflam they start up. Let us go back to the phones. Do you have anybody here? 5 minutes to the hour. If you can get in, let's try you now. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening. Huh?
Good evening to you.
It's since the pandemic, I'm home and can't have a job. I have 4 children and only one is working, nobody else. I went to Astro trying to see how I could get a job to support me and my children, and to now nothing. And I have all my bills piling up on me. Okay, good night.
Okay, my number is 662-6003. Please try and get in touch, because even if I may not have a job, I sometimes know that people are hiring. I will do what I can to assist. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Since from the pandemic, I'm home on to now.
All right. Well, the numbers are telling us that the jobs in Nevis are growing, that people are working again. We see new businesses opening.
I'm going all around and can't get a job.
All right. Well, as I said, give me a call. Let us talk off the air. Let me find out what it is you're looking for, and let us see if we can assist in some way.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And it's interesting you mentioned Astro, because Astro works with the STEP program. And ma'am, the truth is, you can't get on STEP because we are being told in Nevis that nobody is allowed. You can't add anybody. Right? Here you say you have 4 children, you would like a little something to do, a little income. And in the meantime, get a little training for something. That's what STEP was designed to do. But the people in Nevis locked out. That is the fairness that we're arguing about. So I'm here to say to the people of Nevis, in the next dispensation, Nevis will have its own programs. We'll have our own version of the peace program because we think it's an important program to create avenues for our young people and steer them away from behavior that is unhelpful. We will have our own STEP program, or its equivalent here. We think we can improve it. And we will have our own social safety nets, including PAP, here on the island of Nevis. But to do so, we must have the resources to effect those programs. We are committed to ensuring that for student loans, we do not go above 5%. That's the cap. We are committed to ensuring that economic cost is restored at the University of the West Indies for all of our students studying at UWI. And we are committed to ensuring that we use the resources available to us to develop alternative energy, geothermal to be precise, and at the same time to provide some relief to our people now, so that just like their brothers and sisters in SYNC is getting relief out of citizenship by investment money, they too can get that relief on the island of Nevis. It is unfair that in Nevis you must pay fuel surcharge, but in SYNC there is none out of the same passport money. So when I come and I knock on your door, or you listen to us in Jessup's tomorrow, you listen to us in Brickhill on Saturday, what we are talking about is the future. Timothy Harris is in the past. His ticket is already being called. The flight is boarding, and he's out of time. He will have to go. Whether he wants to go or he doesn't want to go, it is of little moment. When your time up, your time is up, and his time is up. And so I encourage you not to look back, but to let us look forward together to a future where every man, woman, and child in this country is treated equitably, is treated fairly, has an equal chance in this country to succeed, has an equal chance and an equal opportunity, and is guaranteed the full fruits of his or her citizenship. Let us create that country. Let us create a country where we are all working together to develop this land that we love and this land of which we are so exceedingly proud. St. Kitts and Nevis has the potential to be the finest country in the world. Not only in the Caribbean, but in the world. I believe together we can achieve that dream. Let us move forward together in earnest and in a unity of purpose to achieve the best St. Kitts and Nevis that we can. That is why I offer myself to you as a politician, as a candidate, and as a proud representative of Nevis. That is why the Honorable Alexis Jeffers offers himself to you. That is why the Honorable Eric Evelyn offers himself to you. That is why the Concerned Citizens Movement, that proud party of Vance Amory, offers itself to you. We look forward to your support and to working closely to ensure that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis get the government that they deserve. I know that our sisters and brothers in the People's Action Movement are having a huge concert as they lift off tonight. I ask you to go out in your numbers and be there with them, because they are the future. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its advertisers.